Greetings everyone, this is Professor Theo Williams, and I'd like to take this opportunity to once again welcome you to Intercultural Communication Online, as well as to go over the syllabus. Hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have, but if you happen to have other questions after this short video, then please feel free to contact me on Canvas. As you can see at the top, you have my email address, williat2@bethelcollege.edu. I will do my best to get back to you as swiftly as possible when it comes to your questions via email. If you happen to be on campus and you'd like to stop by my office for whatever reason, I'm at Bowen 119 and you see my office hours, or you can of course email me to schedule an appointment. I will not go over the course description and the goals and objectives. You can read that at your own leisure. However, I will go over the course requirements. As you can see that each week we have modules. And within those modules, they're normally going to consist of having a devotion, a chapter that you're supposed to read, then possibly a quiz or a paper due. It's outlined in each module. The particular assignments that we have, the first assignment, some of you have already participated in. This is a class introduction. This is worth 10 points. It's simply your way of introducing yourself to the rest of your classmates, as well as answering that question, what it is that you want to get out of the class. And most of you have already completed that assignment. When it comes to things that are posted on the forum, I will do my best to try to give you feedback. But if not, please show grace, but you will definitely be getting feedback from your classmates. This is worth 10 points. The first major assignment is our Who Am I Cultural Identity paper. This is worth 200 points. It's totally outlined in your syllabus as well as reiterated within that module. If you look in module 3, you just click on that link that says Who Am I Cultural Identity paper, and there'll be an uploaded template to help you out. But basically it's going to be broken down into 3 sections, 5 if you include the introduction and conclusion. So I do encourage you to start off all your papers with the introduction, which gives us a preview of what to expect, and it also maybe uses some type of creativity to draw the reader in. And you're going to conclude each paper with a conclusion that is possibly a summarization or a recap of what it is that you covered. But the 3 sections are outlined in the syllabus. The first one, you would basically tell us about the many cultures and subcultures that you identify with. For example, if I was to write this paper, I may talk about being male, which is part of the culture I'm a part of, African American, and Christian. Those 3 things, but maybe you can add in other things. So talk about some of the subcultures you're a part of, and you would just answer those questions like, for example, which cultural aspects are central to who you are? And so you would talk about those cultures and why they're important to you. Section 2, you would take those cultures that you highlighted and you would talk about what are some of the cultural norms or even stereotypes that often are associated with that particular culture. So if I'm talking about being a male, I may talk about some expectations that men have, culturally speaking. I may talk about stereotypical behaviors about men. I may talk about how men are viewed as maybe breadwinners or strong or sometimes angry, whatever it may be. I may talk about some of those stereotypes. And then finally, in your last paper, you're going to discuss how the norms and the stereotypes and the attributes of each culture that you've listed, how do they complement each other? And how do they conflict or contradict one another? So for example, if I'm talking about my Christian culture, I may talk about how maybe within the Christian culture, one thing that is talked about as being very unified, one body being many parts. But maybe sometimes as men, we're taught to be more independent, to be self-reliant. And so how those things may conflict with one another. However, as a Christian, we may also read about husbands and men, how we're supposed to be the providers and the protectors and the head of the family. Well, what are some norms about being a husband that coincides with that? And so basically we talk about the particular cultures that you highlighted and how do they complement one another and how do they contradict. And so basically you can imagine this paper having an introduction, a conclusion, and then 3 sections in between that are all outlined. All papers, as we're going to read at the end of the syllabus, should be done in APA, and there are some guidelines that have been posted online that show you what are the guidelines for APA. All right, that's due Saturday, September the 17th. And so we'll have a couple weeks on our belt before that's due. But I would encourage you to start working on that as soon as you can. The next major assignment is the intercultural interview. This is worth 150 points. Once again, I have a template that I've already uploaded. So if you go to the particular module where this interview is due, if you click on that link, you'll see a template that basically has some suggested questions. You don't have to answer all these questions. These are just some guidelines that may help you out. But once again, this isn't simply a transcription of an interview. So you're not going to simply interview someone and then type out the question you asked, type out the answer. Type out the question, type out the answer. That's not what this is. You're going to take those answers and then you're going to formulate them into a paper. And this paper is going to be a 4-page paper based upon what it is that you gained from this interview. And there are some questions towards the end of the template that I want you to consider and add into the paper. For example, were there any preconceived notions that you had going in? And what do you think was most difficult about the interview and things of that nature? And so once again, you're going to have an introduction and conclusion, and then the interview questions and their answers can serve as the bulk of the body. And just as a side note, as talking about APA, for the first paper, that's a 4-page paper. The second paper is also 4 pages. That does not include the title page, which is part of APA. And to be honest, although we're talking about APA, I won't be overly concerned about whether you have an abstract or not, since this is only a 4-page paper. So I would tell you, more than likely, don't worry too much about typing up an abstract, but I will want that title page. And your title page should not be included in the 4 pages. So I need 4 actual type. And I do give grace, so if you're around 3.75 pages, that's fine. And if you go 4.25, that's fine. But what I don't want is 5 or 6 pages, just because the nature of this class, I want you to get used to being more succinct. And I want to be to get you feedback promptly. And the longer the paper go, the slower it's going to take me to grade it. And so make sure you stick to those guidelines. This intercultural interview is due on October 1st. So you have 1 paper due, and then 2 weeks later you have a second paper due. The final assignment is called an Intercultural Strategy Guide. This is worth 150 points. Once again, I'll upload a template. This is basically just an outline, and you'll fill in the blanks of this outline. You're going to select 3 different cultures that you think represents who you are. So once again, I may use that example of me being male, African American, and Christian. And then you're going to simply answer the questions that I've posed on the guideline. What are the norms of being a Christian? What are some of the stereotypes people have about Christians? And then what are some of the communication styles for Christians? And you would answer those same 3 things for African Americans and also then for males. And then you would answer questions, well, how does being a Christian, how does it complement and contradict you being a male based upon those things you wrote down? How does you being a male, how does it complement and conflict with you being African American, etc.? So you basically pick any 3 identities that you think best identify who you are, and then you would answer those questions. And so that's worth 150 points. So those 3 assignments total are worth 500 points. All right, so that's the bulk of the points for this particular semester. So you want to make sure you're turning in those papers on time, and you want to make sure that you're doing them correctly. All right, if you happen to turn in something late, because everything is due by 11:59 Eastern Standard Time of the due date. So for this intercultural guide, since it's due on October 13th, it would be October 13th by 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you turn in something at 12:05, I'm not going to hold it against you. But when you talk about being 4 or 5 hours late and definitely the next day, just know that per the normal policy that's a 50% reduction automatically. So you would get half the points deducted just off the bat. Now, if there's extenuating circumstances and you want to contact me to see if you can negotiate something different, feel free to do so. On a case-by-case basis, I may make that exception. But for the most part, if you're turning in things grossly late, just know that it's automatically 50% off. And you will have the opportunity to submit that assignment late all the way up into the last day of class. But I would urge you, don't wait till the last day of class. Get in as soon as you possibly can. All right, we also have some quizzes. The way the semester is designed, we don't have a quiz the first week. The first week, the only assignment you have is that question I asked you as far as introducing yourself, and then you have week 1 form. So the way it's designed is 1 week you will read a chapter. So for example, this week we're going to be reading chapter 1. But we won't have a quiz this week over chapter 1. We'll have a quiz starting next week. So the quiz will open up on Sunday nights. So if we start a class on Sunday, you will start reading throughout that week. The following Sunday is when the quiz will open up. And you'll have 1 week to complete the quiz, as far as when you can complete it. Now, once you log on to start the quiz, you have 35 minutes. So when I say you have a week, it doesn't mean that you can start the quiz, put it on pause, and then come back later. You have a week in order to go in to take the quiz. But when you take the quiz, from the moment you start, there's a timer, and it's 35 minutes. You're allowed to use your notes. You're also allowed to use the PowerPoints. You're allowed to use your books. You can use all your resources. But please do not fall into the trap of thinking that because you can use those resources, that there's no need to read ahead. And then you think you're just going to take this quiz and skim through and find the answers. With 35 minutes, you just won't have enough time to do so. So make sure you go over the PowerPoints. And for every PowerPoint, there's also a lecture, MP3, that I've uploaded. Pull out the PowerPoints, listen to the lecture, and do those things together. So you can read along the PowerPoints and even have the book open, and I'll break down as much as I can throughout those lectures. Now, between the book, my lectures, and those PowerPoints, you should be really prepared for the quizzes when you do take those quizzes. So keep in mind, we're not taking a quiz every week. There's 7 weeks of this class. We're taking 5 quizzes. So quizzes will start in week 2, but will always be a week behind. So the quiz that starts in week 2 is the quiz over chapter 1. And we'll do 5 quizzes, and there won't be a quiz for the final week. That'll be a week where you could just prepare for your final assignment, which was that intercultural guide. So we'll have 5 quizzes. They're worth 20 points each, and they're multiple choice, true and false, and short answer. You will be able to see what you missed as soon as you make those mistakes, and you'll get immediate feedback from the computer. Now, in some cases, maybe during the short answer part, I write in what the answer is to the computer. And I may have it in lowercase, sometimes it's in uppercase. I try to do both. So that way, if you put it in lowercase, the computer will recognize it. If you put it in uppercase, the computer will recognize it. If you happen to change the tense of a particular word, or if you misspell a word, the computer may mark it wrong. In those cases, please feel free to contact me saying, hey, Professor Williams, I got this right answer. The computer marked me wrong. It's simply because we have to input what the right answer is, and you have to put it in exactly the way we input it. And so in those cases, I'll go back in, I'll make the adjustments and make sure you get credit. Normally I get notified of that, and I normally go and look through, once you've taken the quiz, I'll go through and look and make those adjustments. But just to be on the safe side, if you see that there's some points that you missed because of that reason, feel free to let me know. So there's 5 quizzes worth 100 points each. The quizzes will always open up the following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. and must be completed by the next Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So keep that in mind. And finally, we have these online discussions, forum discussions. These are worth 20 points each, and there's 7 total. You have the first one, like I said, which is answering the first forum question, and then separate from that, you have a 10-point question, which is just the introduction. The very last week, the forum question won't be based upon a chapter. It'll just be you telling me what it is that you got out of the class. What was the most profound thing you learned? But other than that, there'll be 1 forum question each week based upon the reading. You're required to answer that question, and those answers are due by Wednesday at 11:59. So your initial response to questions is due every Wednesday at 11:59. And your initial response has to be a minimum of 250 words. And so don't just give us a couple lines, make sure you're trying to meet that word count. And then you'll also be required to respond to 2 other classmates. And so the way you get your points is, this is worth 20 points. You'll get 10 points for your initial response if it's on time and it meets that word count. You can get up to 10 points. And then you can get up to 5 points each for the 2 responses, equaling another 10 points. So that's a possible 20 points each week. So make sure you're doing those 2 things. By Wednesday, you're uploading your 250 word minimum response. And then before Sunday, making sure you're responding back to 2 of your classmates. And the way it's set up, you won't be able to respond to classmates until you've initiated your response. Because we want to make sure that your response to your classmates are informed by your own response. All right, so keep it in mind. So those are worth 20 points each for a total of 140 points. That means throughout the semester you have a 200-point Who Am I cultural identity paper, an interview, and an intercultural guide. Both those are worth 150 points each. The quizzes are total 100 points, and the online discussions are 140 points. And then you have that 10-point introduction for a total possible points of 750 points. And you have the grading scale, which you can see clearly on the syllabus. Also, you have the class schedule. For example, week 1, which is from 8/28, so from August 28th through September 4th, we're going to be reading chapter 1. So you should make sure you're reading chapter 1 and make sure you do that introduction as far as introduction to your classmates. Those are the 2 things are done that are due. And then you do that Form 1 also. So answer Form 1, introduce yourself to class, read chapter 1. In week 2, although we'll be reading chapter 2 and 3, you're going to be taking a quiz over chapter 1. So make sure you do that. So that's how you would read the schedule. Whatever you're reading that week, plus the quiz from the previous week. All right? And it has all due dates as far as papers and things of that nature. And what I'll also do is I'll shoot videos breaking down each of those major projects that I'll post before they're due to help you out and hopefully answer any questions. All right? And I'll also make announcements when things are due. So how we keep online attendance is that for the first 2 weeks, throughout the week by the due dates, if you submit an assignment online, or if you submit a quiz or exam online, if you participate in one of the forums, or if you download something from the site, that will constitute attendance. So if you log on, I can see that you logged on. If you just logged on and perused some stuff and logged back off, that won't be counted as attendance. But if you actually post an assignment, upload an assignment, download something, those things will constitute attendance. So keep that in mind. And then the rest of the syllabus is the withdrawal policy, the drop policy, how to get support, and things of that nature. I won't go over that. And so just keep in mind, if you have any questions about the syllabus or throughout the class, please feel free to shoot me an email and I will get back to you promptly as I can. Once again, this is Professor Theo Williams. Welcome you to Intercultural Communication. We're going to have a great semester. I look forward to building with you all, and hopefully we'll all learn of each other and learn about communicating across cultural lines. Take care and God bless. So how we keep online attendance is that for the first 2 weeks, throughout the week by the due dates, if you submit an assignment online, or if you submit a quiz or exam online, if you participate in one of the forums, or if you download something from the site, that will constitute attendance. So if you log on, I can see that you logged on. If you just logged on and perused some stuff and logged back off, that won't be counted as attendance. But if you actually post an assignment, upload an assignment, download something, those things will constitute attendance. So keep that in mind. And then the rest of the syllabus is the withdrawal policy, the drop policy, how to get support, and things of that nature. I won't go over that. And so just keep in mind, if you have any questions about the syllabus or throughout the class, please feel free to shoot me an email and I will get back to you promptly as I can. Once again, this is Professor Theo Williams. Welcome you to Intercultural Communication. We're going to have a great semester. I look forward to building with you all, and hopefully we'll all learn of each other and learn about communicating across cultural lines. Take care and God bless.